Are you an investigative professional? Did you know you can find the best private investigator resources using investigatorstoolbox.com? This resource community was built exclusively for licensed investigators and investigative professionals. You can network directly with members, educate yourself through free webinars and blogs, and even create your own customizable research library. Membership starts for as little as 49 cents a day. Download the Investigators Toolbox app or visit our webpage at www.investigators-toolbox.com.
You guys have been hearing for a long time about how much I love Crosstracks, but now you're going to hear from somebody else. So we got George Gerges here. George is a member and user of Crosstracks. George, tell me real quickly what you love about Crosstracks.
The simplicity of using it and the ability to customize everything that you could do with Crosstracks is awesome. It actually allowed me to take the way that I do my business and implement it into their system. And not only am I able to manage 10 or 15 cases, I'm able to manage 50 to 100 cases with the same effort.
Fantastic. So Crosstracks, the case management system, they are SOC 2 certified. Basically, that's an encryption, really an upgrade. They're the only ones out there that are doing it. So please support this great sponsor that supports our show. Check them out. The links are in the show notes. Crosstracks, if you're an investigator, you should be using them today.
Check out the PI Institute of Education at piinstitute.com. Since 1989, Kelly Riddle has been teaching on subjects such as surveillance, nursing home investigations, insurance fraud, domestic investigations, hidden assets, and accident scene investigations. The PI Institute of Education is a featured learning partner in the investigatorstoolbox.com. So check out the free content on the site, then visit the Institute for more great savings on additional classes. Welcome to show 150. Can you believe we made it this far? Well, thank you for your consistent support. And I'll personally like to thank Matt as well for letting me help him with this show. It's been a real honor. Today, our friend Brianne Jospeh returns to promote her show. That's right, her show on VH1 and her marketing program for new investigators. So please welcome Sly Fox Investigator and friend of the show, Brianne Jospeh. And of course, your host, private investigator, Matt Spaier.
And welcome everybody to this week's episode of PI Perspectives. I am more than honored and super excited and just all the really good stuff out there to welcome my friend Brianne Jospeh back to the program. Brianne, welcome back.
Hi, thank you for having me again, my friend. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Those of you that have listened to prior episodes, I've been going all the way back to 2.5 years or something since we've been doing this. They know that you've been working on a big project, and that project is coming to fruition. And actually, at the time that this is airing, it'll be this evening that you have a television show that's airing on VH1. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's so exciting. It's surreal. Like, I really cannot, it's one thing to say that you have a television show coming out, but like when you really sit in it and think about what that means, it's a really huge deal. So I'm really, really proud of it.
Yeah. Sure. And those of us that know you and our friends have kind of seen it. If they follow you on social media, they've seen the progress and the process. And I always I go back and I laugh a little bit about you having microphones and hiding in a closet and doing like extra work.
Yeah, VH1 sent me like microphones to help with post-production. So I had to sit in a closet with the microphone and the script sometimes and redo some of the audio. So even when I went out of town, I had to bring the microphone with me. So I'm in a hotel closet, which was gross. Yeah. But, I had to do what I had to do to help make the project come full circle.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I remember we were in Vegas and telling that you're like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm late. I was in the closet recording some spots."
Yes, I totally do that because I'm like, "Oh my God, I want to get at this session," but then they're like, "Well, we need these lines from you." So I'm like, "Okay, let me hop in the closet real quick, and I'll meet you down in a minute, Matt. Just give me a minute to get out the closet." It's the most hilarious situation.
This is like removing the fourth wall here for television, right?
I know. Things work. I know, but what are you gonna do? You can't be in two places at one time, but sometimes you have to be. So make it work.
Yeah, I mean, and I asked you on not only to talk about the show, but you got some other news too, which we'll get to in a little bit after the break, because I want to cover more of that. But for folks that don't know you, people that are just tuning in or new to listening to this podcast, Sly Fox Investigations is your company. So tell me a little bit about your background, where you're based, what you do, and then how you got involved with the program.
Yeah, so I am Brianne Jospeh, the owner and head investigator at Sly Fox Investigations. We're an all-female private investigation agency. Our agency specializes in surveillance, primarily for workers' compensation fraud, insurance fraud. We basically work on the defense side of things. Mm-hmm. We also do family law, domestics, child custody, infidelity, which is what the show is about, infidelity. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we cover the state of Louisiana, primarily Southern Louisiana, New Orleans, Baton Rouge areas. And we're just an award-winning, kick-ass, all-female agency. Yeah. I've been for about 15 years now.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So you have a marketing background, right? Before you became a PI, that's kind of what you went to school for. Yeah. And you got that whole other gig, which again, we'll get to that later. Yeah. But I know over the years that you have had opportunities for projects with television. You and I have been friends for a couple of years, and I know I've seen you talk about it, and and every program prior to this, it just wasn't right. Something you thought it was going to happen, it wasn't going to happen, and the situation had to be good. And kudos for you for walking away from things that smelled funny and wasn't going to be right.
Yeah, through the years, a lot smelled funny, and it just wasn't a good fit for one reason or another. Either they wanted to exaggerate what was happening, or make me be out of character, or something that just does not sit well with me, or something that I thought would shine a bad light on the brand that I've worked so hard to build. So I just wasn't going to let anything like that just make us look crazy, which just wasn't that serious. Believe it or not, I'm not the type of person that's like dying to get on TV. It really has to be the right opportunity. And I can remember as far back as I was pregnant. My daughter's 10 years old now, and I was pregnant with her the first time a production company flew down to try to put a show together for me. It was Fremantle Media, and they're the ones who produced The Price is Right. Oh, wow. They flew down to try to put a show together, and it was the craziest experience because I didn't want my girls on TV. And so what they took that to mean was they needed to create these Sly Fox characters.
Troy's Angels. Fantastic.
Oh my gosh, it was the worst. They were trying to play on our nicknames, right? So I had like Sly Fox, and then I had like Fancy Fox, these crazy names. But long story short, they brought in like this older lady. She had to be like 80 years old, riding a Harley. They called her Enforcer Fox. It was so unauthentic. It wasn't a good look at all. So obviously that didn't work, and it was not something that I wanted to be involved in at all. So, I've seen a lot, and people have suggested a lot, but they were not the right opportunities, clearly. So, and that's for the last 10 years.
Yeah. And I think as you're involved in this industry, and there's a whole training aspect of what you do as well, credibility is everything, right? So when you attach yourself to something, especially something you don't have 100% editorial control over, like there's a risk involved in there.
Oh my God. I was so nervous for these because I also had an opportunity with WeTV a few years ago. WeTV offered me a position in the show. There was this PI in London that they wanted to head the show, and they asked me to be a part of the show some type of way, but they wanted me to act out of character a little bit, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, I can't, that's not who I am. I'm not going to do it. So I passed on that one, and that was a really big opportunity at WeTV, but everything that glitters is not gold. And, you just can't bite every single thing that comes to you. For me, it has to feel right. And none of those things felt right until this opportunity.
Yeah, they just hired Enforcer Fox instead. She's made
Enforcer Fox, let her do it. She'll handle it because I don't.
She got a brand new Harley out of it.
I was like, is not who we are. Please don't put me on TV.
Right. It is, you know, all joking aside, though, it is something that it's concerning because of, you know, just our industry and what we do and the things that we're able to do and the credibility that we need to sustain in order to continue to do that, right? When you start talking about data privacy and research and you have, you know, elected officials that have an impression on what an investigator does. And if they see Enforcer Fox on TV, they're like, okay, this is a joke, these investigators, right?
It's out the door, honey.
Right.
It's like gone. You can forget about it, you know, and I would never want to put myself or my company in that type of life. I've worked too hard, Matt. It's like, it's hard building a business. It's hard growing a business. It's hard sustaining a business. Why would I throw all of that away for a television show? You know, that's not going to last forever. You know, whatever they portray me as on TV is what I'll have to live with for a very long time. So I'm very cognizant of that. And that's why it was really easy for me to say no to all of these products. Literally every year somebody would call trying to do a show. It was just, it's not it.
Yeah, I have a really good friend of mine that's in the entertainment industry, and he had gotten approached years ago to do a assisted reality, I guess is what you call it, right? Quote unquote reality show. Cause he's an interesting guy, right? He's got triplets, which is the little nuts. And, you know, he's got a very successful media company. Like people know who he is, right? So that whole behind the scenes that Ozzy Osbourne made so popular, or the Kardashians made so popular, you're doing this stuff like they wanted to, start doing a show. And he took meetings and they got this whole thing together. And it got to the point where he's like, no, like, this isn't me. This isn't my background. Like the things you're asking me to do, like, you know, this is not my life. And I don't want to portray that, you know, life. So very interesting.
I'll tell you the thing about this show that I really love is that I was not only hired as talent on the show, but I was hired as a consulting, as a consultant for the show as well. And
I think that was first, right? The consultant was first, and then they were like, "Oh, wait a second, she'd be okay on camera, right?"
Yeah, at first, yeah, they hired me as a surveillance. I'm gonna start with you, but as the surveillance consultant first, and then they were like, "You know what? Let's throw her on the screen too." And I was like, "Oh, okay," because I had a say in how I looked and how the scene went. And that made me much more comfortable with doing the show because they wanted it to be so authentic to a certain extent that they were like, what would you really do? You know what I mean? They didn't want to like create something fake. So that's the great part about this show.
That's great. I mean, I remember calling you on work related issues and you're like, I'm in a van right now. I'm filming. We're doing things. We're running around all over Atlanta. I can't talk.
Oh my God. Look, let me tell you, it was so like crazy because if you're trying to do surveillance in an unfamiliar city, Atlanta is crazy. The traffic, I don't think I've been in worse traffic in my life, but like there's cars just everywhere. They want you to talk about what you're doing as you're driving, but you're trying to follow the GPS and you don't know where the hell you are. Right. It was really challenging at some point, and I had to question whether or not this was for me like a couple times because I'm like, this is a lot. I don't want to crash. Can we pull over and y'all ask me these questions? Because I'm trying to focus on how to get around the corner without getting hit. You know what I mean? It was just insane. Okay. But it was fun. And you did call me in the middle of all of that.
Oh, no, I did. And I remember. And listen, I've been in a car with you in a non-surveillance situation.
And it was bad.
And I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm not even going to say anything further.
Oh my God. Look,
I'm just happy to be alive. That's all I'm saying.
Did you die, Matt? But did you die?
I did not die. And for God's sakes, it was the city where you knew where you were going. So,
and it was a city where I knew where I was going. But
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it all worked out.
So I don't want to hear any complaining. It was good. So
yeah. So before we take a break, a quick break, let's just plug the show again real quickly, and then we'll jump into the other things. So VH1 is the show that it's on, or the channel that it's on. What's the name of the show, and when does it air?
Yeah, so it is airing on the network VH1. The show is called Caught in the Act, Unfaithful, and it airs tonight at 8 p.m. Central. And hopefully everybody will tune in and get these ratings up. It's going to be a really cool show.
Yeah, yeah, and that's obviously it's a weekly, right? Every week they're gonna.
Yes, every Monday.
How many episodes did they film?
Oh, we're doing 2 episodes at a time, so back to back.
Oh, okay. How many total?
See, back to back twice in 2 episodes.
The season is how many episodes?
It's 6 episodes.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And there's some talent, right? Who's the host of the show?
The host is Tammy Roman. She has been in reality TV for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
She's an actress. She's done a lot of sitcoms and different things like that. And there's also Kevin Carr. He is a relationship expert. And the whole premise of the show is basically folks bring their problems to Tammy with their relationships. She has a team, the relationship expert and her private investigator. Of course, I play myself as the investigator, and we help her bring these cheaters to task and, work these cases and hopefully bring the some type of resolve to the relationships at the end. And what's great and what's different about this, it's not that we're just busting cheaters left and right. At the end, the relationship expert does come in and try to see what went wrong, where it went wrong, and try to help them heal the relationship. So there is an element of healing in this too. So which for me.
Yeah, and the host Tammy, she goes way back. She's like the beginning of reality television, right? She was in The Real World, I think season 2, right?
Exactly. Yes. And I think Real World was like one of the first reality shows, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't know if it was the first, but it was definitely up there. And I remember, Real World was always, for me, it spoke to me a little bit more because it was based in New York, right? So it's like, I'm not only am I seeing people from out of state that are now in my city, and I'm, at that age, I'm 20 something, right? So it was just something that was very, very cool to me. And I actually met along the way a bunch of the people that had been on the show. I think there was a guy, Eric, on the first season, who was a friend of mine, and I got to hang out with a couple of these people. I think I may have actually met Tammy like a long time ago. I mean, she was married at one point to a basketball player, I think, on the Nets, Kenny Henderson, I think, if I remember correctly.
She's doing this show because he was unfaithful to her at some point, and so she wants to help others in similar situations. So that's why she's the perfect host for this, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to help her do that.
Yeah, that's great. It's such a small world, and again, one of the things I love about New York is like you never know who you're going to bump into or run into. It's just like you see people like that around all the time, or friend of a friend, and you're at some rooftop, and it's like, oh, well, there's so and so. Let me introduce you. Okay, all right, cool. It's like
you never know who you're going to meet. Yep,
I can say I know like Brianne Jospeh, the Sly Fox.
Oh my goodness, I don't know.
Start name dropping.
Now, if I look crazy on the show, just don't tell me. We're just gonna act like nothing happened. We're just gonna keep it moving, Matt. Don't tell me if I look crazy. We're just gonna believe it's all good, okay?
Okay. They don't ask too many people to stand on boxes, so.
Oh my God, yeah, they did totally ask me to stand on a box because I was too short for a set of pictures. So that did happen for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny that you thought that it was like a box of snacks for everybody.
I thought they were bringing us snacks, but they're like, oh, you're going to stand on the box because you're short. I'm like,
exactly, this is for you.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
I feel like your husband probably paid them to do that just to keep you in check.
I can't believe it. I'm going to totally send you that picture of me standing on that box. It's the funniest thing.
That's so great. So great. Okay, so we're going to take a break real quick. And then when we come back, we're going to pivot a little bit because I do want to talk about training, right? It's one of the things you're actually known for. And you got this great program and something it's really going to take off now. And hopefully with the show giving you exposure and the passion that you have for our industry, all joking aside, for folks that are just getting into the industry, because that's one of the things you're known for is that mentoring aspect to it. So everybody sit tight, and when we come back, we're going to jump into that issue.
Want full data access without a site inspection? IRB Search gives you full social security numbers, dates of birth, up-to-date contact info, and so much more, without the inconvenience or cost of an inspection. As an added bonus, you can access IRB data on any device in any location. You'll always have the best data anytime, anywhere. Visit irbsearch.com and use exclusive promo code PIPOD2021 for a free trial and 100 credits. Offer available for new and returning customers. Looking for an insurance agent that puts you first? Every PI business is different. That's why OREP Insurance can shop multiple markets to ensure you get the best coverage to meet your unique business needs. OREP's model is business by the golden rule, and for over 20 years, they've built their business by putting their clients first. So come enjoy a fast online application and same-day certificates of insurance at OREP.org. OREP has coverage for armed investigators, executive protection, and even has a separate policy for security firms. The application takes less than 5 minutes, so visit OREP.org today. OREP.org. It's that time of year again to visit Texas. If you've never attended a Tally training event, this is the year you want to be there. The conference is scheduled for August 10th through the 14th in League City, Texas, which is near Houston. Visit tally.org for more info. Check out the latest issue of PI Magazine available online or via hard copy. Visit pimagazine.com to learn more.
And welcome everybody back to PI Perspective. This is Matt Spaier, your host. Today we have my short friend, Miss Brianne Jospeh. I welcome you back to the program. How are you?
Oh my gosh, you are hilarious. I am good. So excited to be here talking to you. It's been such a long time since we had a chance to chat, but I'm super excited to have you.
I wanted to chat more with you in Vegas, but you're too busy going in the closet recording spots.
Look, I know.
You get a chance to hang out.
My God, those folks had me in the closet, but I'm out of the closet now.
All right. Moving on to the next subject. I'll touch on that one. So training, right? Training has always been a passion of yours. You told me such an amazing story when I first met you, when I came down to New Orleans and we were hanging out, about some of the struggles you had when you started your business and how, you were kind of shunned and nobody really gave you a chance. Nobody wanted to help you succeed. And it's something that I think you not only took personally, but has this desire to change that, specifically for women in our industry. It was something that you identified that, hey, there's no voice for us, right? So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now and how you got to that point with the training.
Yeah, when I first started, obviously they didn't have a lot of female private investigators that were in the industry. I think when I started, there were maybe 60,000 PIs in the US. I think only 20% were women, only 3% were African-American women at the time. Not sure what the numbers are now, but I know back then that's kind of what it looked like a bit. But yeah, I was really excited when I first got my license, was ready to mingle and meet new people and network. So there was an opportunity for one of the meetings locally. Went down, super excited, had my business cards that I printed myself because I didn't have any money.
I did the same thing, Staples. I bought my business cards at Staples, printed them up.
You just go and you make it and you print it off a printer, when you're first starting off. That's what I did. And I went down to this association meeting. And as soon as I walked in, I immediately realized, I was like, oh, there's really not a lot of women, not a lot of people that look like me here, which is that I noticed, but I didn't even think much about that. I was like, oh, it was just like, oh, okay, this is different. But anyway, long story short, there came a point in time where they asked to pass your business cards around. So we're sitting at these long tables. There's guys sitting next to me, and there's a row of people across from me. And so I'm super excited. I pull out my little business cards that I just made, still warm from the printer.
Right.
They said, give it to your neighbor. So I go to hand my business card to the guy sitting to the right of me, and he turned his back to me.
Wow.
And oh, well, that's bad timing. I didn't even think anything about it. I was like, oh, bad timing. He's just talking. So I turned to the left to give the other guy one, and he said, no, thank you. So I was like, oh, no, thank you. Now there was a woman sitting across from me. And when I went I was like, surely this woman is gonna interact.
Right.
I went to hand her the business card, and she looked down at the menu And so I was like,
Sorry.
I was crushed. I was devastated, and I was embarrassed above everything else. And, I just kind of sat there kind of quietly, and I just, slowly grabbed my purse and my bag and I just left because I just didn't feel very welcome. And honestly, Matt, when I went home, I cried. I really cried because I had such high hopes and intentions for that meeting because it was my first time, and I was like,
I mean, it's your professional association. You think they would help you out, right?
yeah. And so I was like, oh my God. I was like, for me, initially, I was like, well, who's going to help me? You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, I was looking to like, who's going to show me how and do. So I was really crushed. But I tell you, about after 15 minutes of crying, I got kissed.
Yeah. And then we're all in trouble. Did you call Enforcer Fox or no?
Should have called Enforcer Fox.
It would have worked out if you did that.
But I was like, how dare they do that to me? I got really mad. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to do this on my own, And I said, I don't need anybody to do anything. I'll make it happen myself. And long story short, that's what I did. I set out to create my own table, create my own way, and just successfully have grown it from 0 to a 6-figure brand just on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not be more proud. And to be able to have a platform like VH1 to come all the way from that moment of despair to look at myself now, it's like I'm super proud of the journey.
Well, not only that, I mean, you've won awards in our industry, right? Yeah, forget about the TV stuff. I mean, that's cool, and all that. But as far as the respect in the industry, like people know who you are, right? PI Magazine, you top 22 investigators in 22. Like you're on that list, 60,000 plus investigators.
Yes.
You're one of the 22 people on there, like that there's something to be said about that. And what I think is also very cool is you actually made the choice to go and teach and run training programs in Louisiana. So for folks that don't know, that's one of the requirements for getting your license, right? You have to go through a program, and you're one of the instructors. There are several out there that do it, but you made the effort to go and do it. So, it's a testament of you saying like, okay, I'm upset that this happened and now I'm angry and I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else. I'm going to do something about it. Right. And it's so admirable, that you did that and you're continuing to do it. And it's why I always support with what you do. Like we go back and forth. People, if they know the dynamics between Matt and Brianne, like we're always challenging each other and trying to one up each other. I got to freaking call VH1 now and get my own thing, maybe I'll go to ESPN, who knows?
Well, now I'll sit back and wait for you to do that. That's fine. Yeah. No, you're right. We do have that. And, and I agree with that. Outside of the television thing, for my whole career, I've just established a standard for what I do. And I know the type of reputation the industry can have and has had in the past. And so I wanted to also just represent us in a really, really great professional light. Yeah. And so that was super, super important to me and super important to my team. I told everyone, anybody that I hire, hey, we're at the top. We've got to stay here. There's a standard of excellence. There's no such thing as perfection, but we're going to aim for it. So when we fall short, we're still excellent. So you know what I mean? So it's the bar is set. We kind of talked a little bit earlier about finding the right people to work and who value that same work ethic. And it's not always the easiest thing to do.
No, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough for somebody to be motivated when it's not theirs, right? They don't own it, right? They're punching a clock. Yes. And, how do you create that passion in somebody, And to me, it's always been, just sharing the glory or financially making incentives doesn't hurt either. But respecting the people that are with you and, treating them as equals and just trying to be a good boss. I mean, I can always be better. We can always be better in what we do. But, it's funny when you say that striving for excellence and ending up towards the top. That's something my grandfather used to tell me all the time when I was a kid,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he would say, like, always strive for 100%, because you're never going to be there.
Yep.
But at least you'll know you'll be around in the 90s. Like you'll be in the 90%.
And I really contribute and attribute my success to that standard, because it's like you go so high or you aim so high so that when you miss that mark, you're still excellent. You know what I mean? You're still doing better than a lot of people that are around you if you have very high standards.
No, I think one of the biggest testimonies to that, to reputation and all that, are national message boards, right? So like when somebody says, I need somebody in the Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Louisiana area, like who would you recommend, right? And when you see like tons of people posting like Sly Fox, they're the ones you want to use, you have this matrimonial, you have this workers' comp, like these are the ones you want to use, right? So it's the testimonials you're getting from your peers. To me, that is so much better than anything else, right? That's when you know that you're there. When your own industry recognizes you as one of the elites, that says something, right? And you've gotten to that point. People know who you are, which is really neat.
Yeah, and it all goes into good marketing as well in order to get to a place where you're recognized. And so, which is why I found the passion to show other people how to do that, because I've been in a lot of different things from a marketing perspective, and I've learned a lot along the way. And I started getting people coming up to me saying, hey, Bree, how did you do this? How did you do that? How do I get in? How do I market? How do I get myself out there? How do I get my name out there? And there are people in my inbox all the time, people just constantly, and time just wouldn't allow me to like individually have these conversations all the time. So I said, let me just create a platform where I can kind of get everybody together and try to get the message out that way and help as many people as possible, which is why I started Six Figure Investigator Marketing.
Right.
And it started with literally from that idea of new people in the field wanting to know how to do things.
Yeah. And the thing that I love about it, and we were talking offline before we started, just because I wanted to hear an update on it, you've understood that the people that you're marketing to are people that are getting into the industry, right? So this program is specifically designed for folks that are just getting into it. And one of the things that folks just getting into the program, not only do they not have any knowledge of what they're doing really, because there's no real pre-training going into this stuff, they don't have money. So I've seen people with marketing packages, I've gone to conferences and they're trying to sell you this system, right? And it's a huge investment into that system. And it's like, you go and someone's giving you basically their life savings because they're having this moment in their life where they're trying to start up something. So they're investing what they have left in a system that may or may not work, so the exposure there is everything for them. Whereas you've created a product and a community that is affordable, that you're going to get those, the mentorship, right, which is super important for those starting off, and the tools to kind of get yourself running, right? So you identified that, and I commend you for that. And you have a special running for this particular program to line up with the show, right? So tell me a little bit about cost of this stuff and what the special that you're running now on it.
Yeah, when I first started, I didn't know where to start. I had no idea what questions to ask. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I approached creating a course just from that standpoint of putting myself back in the days when I first started out and what would have helped me. What questions did I need to have answered that I didn't even know I needed to ask? Right. So I approached creating the course from that standpoint. So it's from a ground zero on up. I mean, everything from the legalities of the business all the way down to the investigative equipment and investigative software, and it just basics that we need to start to function as a successful investigator in this industry. But the best part about it is I went back to the mindset of, when I first started, I didn't have any money. Right. Any money to do any of these things. So the course also is presented from a standpoint of what are some cost saving strategies to get the professional image that you need. because to be a professional, sometimes it can get really pricey, to put yourself out the way that you would want to. But because I'm so creative, back in the day, I came up with all of these creative ways to cut costs. And I share a lot of that in my course as well. The course right now, because my show is coming out tonight, and for this week, it's $97, which is amazing for all of the things. Yeah, if you're coming in, $97 is nothing compared to shortening your learning curve for something. But the regular cost is only $197 anyway, so it's still not a huge cost. But because we have the show this week, it's $97 because we're celebrating success, and so I want to see everybody win.
No, that's good. So, and the website of where folks can go to that, what is that?
Yeah, it's privateinvestigatormentorship.com.
Awesome.
Yep, bigger investigative marketing.
Yeah, and it's been amazing to see that community grow actually since the first time you came on here and talked about it, and I feel like it's really paying off and having dividends now where folks are helping one another. And we were talking offline about this too, where it's gotten to the point where, okay, so you've put the site together, it's your face, it's your brand, it's your all that, but folks in it now are interacting with one another, not necessarily with you there, which is awesome, right?
That is the most awesome thing that I've actually witnessed, because when I first created the mentorship site, I just jumped in ready to roll, had some live trainings, live sessions, which went really, really well, great response from. And then VH1 called and said, hey, we're going to green light the show. You got to fly out to Atlanta. We're going to get you a condo out there for 3 months and you need to come shoot the show. I'm like, oh, okay, I just started my mentorship site, so I had to kind of pause that to a certain extent in order to, I just can't be everywhere at once.
Yeah.
So, and then once we shot the show, then there was, since they hadn't done a show like that before, there was a whole ton of post-production work that they needed me to help with. So my time was still stretched to like beyond capacity. And so I wasn't able to do all of the live trainings like I intended to do. But the great thing is that the network that was created of all of these like-minded individuals who all want to grow their brands and all want to learn the market. You can find investigators in your area. It's just a great way for people to kind of socialize and find out who's doing what's working for you, and just share ideas and collaborate. And that's what folks have just been doing in the meanwhile. And now that we have this course out, I have my sales and marketing course that's about 80% complete, which people, that's what I wanted to say too. I started the mentorship site for the newbies, but then people who have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years started joining and saying, hey, marketing too. So then I had to kind of pivot a little bit and say, okay, so now I have these different audiences. So it's an ultimate sales and marketing course that I'm creating, which I've really poured my heart and soul into. Just all of the creative things that's worked for me, how to get your name out there, the publicity that you can get for free, I'm aware of, that I can share. And I've shared a little bit of that before, but it's just on a much bigger scale with this course, which is going to be later. But the one that's out right now is for the newbies. And at the price point that I have it at, it's really a great steal.
Yeah, it's definitely something you should consider if you want to get into this industry. And that's, I know there are plenty of folks that listen to the show that aren't investigators, but they're just like fascinated by what we do. Yeah, thanks for listening.
I also have a new store. It's called SlyFoxShop.com.
There you go.
Yes, and it's all, because people always say, do you have any t-shirts? Do you have any merch? We just want to support you, especially with the show coming out. Do you have a mug? Can we get a Sly Fox mug? And I'm like, I don't really have any of those things, but now I do. So now we have SlyFoxShop.com,
awesome.
Which is accessible through our website.
Awesome. Do you have the Enforcer t-shirt? That's the question.
I'm fresh out of the Enforcer t-shirt.
They're sold out, right?
Sold out. They were in high demand.
Absolutely sold out. That's
so,
crazy.
So of course I made that site just for anybody who wants to support. But I do have some items in there that are just for regular private investigators too. I have shirts that say private investigator, which are really, really cool, mugs. And I have things like, all kind of the tumblers, just all kind of cool things that are on the site that folks would really think are cool.
Well, that's great. I'm so happy for you. And like, I insisted on you coming back on, I'm like, when your show is ready, you're coming back on and you're going to promote it, you know?
And I'm so grateful for you and for your support and just being in my corner. Like, ever since I started, I really do appreciate you. You are definitely my brother. And I'm so proud of everything that you've done. I just want to say that because you are a force. You are a force to reckon with. And I just like, look, I got to give you your props.
Smoke and mirrors. I got a good marketing person that's pushing everything. I got a good marketing person that's pushing everything. It's all smoke and mirrors.
You know what? So yeah, it's just not, tell your marketing person he's doing a good job, okay?
Why is it gonna be he? It's a
oh, you know what? Right.
Shame on you. Have you not learned anything? No, this is great. And I love chatting with you. I love having you on. I love catching up and just seeing where you're at and seeing the evolution of Miss Joseph, right? And the Sly Fox and all that. It's fantastic. And I want to say congratulations to you because this really is a big deal. This show that's coming on tonight. And,
I'm a little nervous. I can't even lie. I'm having a small watch party. You should have a watch party. But I'm having a small watch party at this venue, and there's like these big wall, floor-to-ceiling screens that it's going to be played on. Right. And we've got cake, we've got drinks, we've got food. So it's going to be maybe 40 people or so, just a small little intimate viewing. But I'm a little nervous. I don't know, I know what I did in the show, but I don't know, how it's going to come out.
You know how it's been edited, right?
I don't know, Matt. So,
make you look crazy.
There's an element of like, what's going to happen,
So we're going to change you from Sly Fox to Crazy Fox. That's going to change your nickname.
Totally. I could totally wake up tomorrow as Crazy Fox. Like, right. It's a real possibility.
It would be good. So that big screen TV, that's probably the only way you're actually going to look tall. So bask in the glory. You'll be tall for one day.
I am tall. I don't care what the box says. They really didn't have to give me that damn box. But
your heart is tall. I know.
I'm a bit hard. All right, we'll go with that.
Okay, so we're going to wind down here. Again, I love you. I'm so happy for you, man. You killed it. You knocked it out of the park, and just the professional respect that I have for you and all that. It's great. You are my sister too, so I feel exactly the same way. And just because we've grown our things at the same time, right? The toolbox and your marketing and your show. We followed similar paths, and I remember the powwow, almost 3 years ago. Actually, it's going to be, I think, 3 years in August, where we first sat down with our ideas and said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing," And
coffee shop, right? Wasn't that a coffee shop?
It was, yeah.
You pulled that laptop out and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I think I'm going to call." Box, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let's see what's going to happen with that. So I remember from the ground up, and then watching you just take that opportunity and just manifest it the way that you did, man. That is absolutely amazing and phenomenal.
Yeah. It was all after a proper New Orleans lunch, and having some grilled oysters and almost dying in a car at least 3 times. So.
Delicious. So next down, I'll make sure you get more of that.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right, Brianne, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can only imagine what you're going to be doing the next time we chat. So, congratulations to you. And we'll catch everybody on the next show. And please check out her show tonight. And if you're listening to a rewind of this episode or whatever, just go search it out on VH1's website and check it out. And we got to support the people in our industry, people. It's all good stuff. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next show. Take care.
Congrats, Brianne, on your new show. We know it'll be great, and we'll be watching. So please make sure you check out the show, and also check out her 6-figure private investigator site, privateinvestigatormentorship.com. The link's in the show notes. We also like to thank Crosstracks, IRB, OREP, PI Institute of Education, and Tally for sponsoring the show. So please support our great supporters. Have you thought about joining Investigators Toolbox? Now's the time to get on board and join the fastest growing digital community for investigative professionals. Just use code PIP 201836 to save 10% on the membership. If you have a question or a comment about the show, email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We'd like your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. And we'll be back next week with a new show, so make sure you tune in and stay safe out there.